Sri Lanka's civil war was a long and bloody conflict. The Tamil minority suffered the worst of it, with thousands killed and many more maimed. For these survivors, the recent economic crisis was a double whammy. They are finding it difficult to survive with no jobs and high inflation. To make matters worse, the government appears indifferent to their problems. Today, we bring you the stories of two such survivors. Their body was scarred by the civil war, and now they are struggling to survive amid the economic crisis.
As the sun beats down on his back, Singaram Susayamuthu drags himself over his peanut field. His life too was upended by the recent economic crisis. But Susayamuthu is a Tamil. His cries and grievances don't make it to Colombo. With much difficulty, he strikes his spade against the loose earth. The 44-year-old is planting peanuts. Here in Sri Lanka's north, the people have been scarred by the civil war. Everyone has a story of pain and injustice. Susayamuthu is no different.
During the war, I was first wounded by a shell on January 14, 2009. After that, I was brought to a local hospital, but while I was there, the building was hit by an airstrike. And in that attack, one of my legs was blown to pieces, and I eventually lost the other leg too. I was also wounded on this arm and had wounds all over my body.
This place is called Mulaituvu. Just 20 kilometers away is the site of the final offensive in Sri Lanka's civil war. More than 100,000 Tamils were killed in a single attack. 13 years later, those scars are yet to heal. Sri Lanka's Tamil minority lives in the northern part of the island. Financially, it is worse than the south. Mulaituvu itself is the second poorest district in the country. 58% of the households live in poverty. 23.5% of them reported losing their income this year. Among them is Susayamuthu.
I have more difficulties than a daily wage labourer because sometimes they manage to get by on a day-to-day basis. Some of them manage to do 1 or 2 days of work. But I don't have that opportunity, do I? Because if I go for daily wage labour, nobody will hire me. And it's also not possible for people like me to go and work like this, is it?
Before the economic crisis, he was a fisherman. But as fuel ran out, he turned to peanut farming. After a tiring day in the field, he heads into his makeshift hut in the middle of the field. This is where he and his eldest son live. It is the best way to keep the pests away from his precious crop.
The main problem we have in our lives at the moment is supplies, particularly rice, flour, sugar, lentils and other food items. If the prices of those items go down, we won't be struggling so much. We might be able to get by at least 75% of the time. But right now, it's a struggle to get by even 10% of the time.
Elsewhere in Mulaituvu, Senthipan Kalachelvi has a similar story to tell. She lost an arm and a leg in a shell attack. In the last days of the war, she had to flee her native village. The disabilities have confined Kalachelvi to her home. She is totally dependent on her mother.
They claim that people like us are given priority, but we never are. Wherever we go, we are pushed to the back. People who are better off get priority. The poor are still being pushed down in society around here.
Sri Lanka's civil war was a 25-year bloody conflict. It pitted the Tamil minority against the Sinhala-dominated government. Around 800,000 Tamils were displaced by the fighting, thousands were killed, and many remain missing even today. The majority may have forgotten the war, but the Tamils here do not have that luxury. The ongoing economic crisis is serving as a reminder for them. Despite all the promises of reconciliation, all the promises of justice and equality, progress is still far away. South Asia Bureau, WION World is One.